You can tell a lot about an adventure motorcycle just by looking at its front wheel. 19-inch, it's a street bike with some gravel ability. 21-inch, you're ready for the wilderness, especially if the rear wheel also measures 18. And lately they've been going the 21-18 route more and more, despite the fact that those big wheels raise the seat height. A lot of ADV bikes are starting to live up to their name and becoming seriously capable off-road. And that's what Brooke and I were looking for in our motorcycles. We're fortunate enough to have hundreds of kilometers of trails very close to our house and also our cottage, and so we wanted a couple of bikes that could do some serious exploring and take us to all the quiet spots you can't access on a road motorcycle. I went for the Yamaha Tenere 700 and she chose the Honda CRF300L Rally, and it's time to compare their relative strengths and weaknesses and what kind of rider should go for each. So if you're thinking about an adventure bike, settle in and let's go over these two most off-roady ADV motorcycles. And as always, if you're enjoying the content, consider subscribing, liking the video, and following us on the gram. There's no replacement for displacement, right? Bigger means better? That was my attitude in 1999 when I bought my first motorcycle, the Suzuki Intruder 1400, a chromed out 1360cc cruiser. That was the biggest displacement bike I've ever owned, which is kind of backwards. Most riders start small and get bigger, but I've never been into conforming. And while I had a lot of fun on that bike and have many fond memories of it, the bike I probably should have bought back then was the very first year Suzuki SV650, a motorcycle that has since achieved legendary status as a giant ball of fun in a small package. I saw one sitting in a dealership once and thought that it looked super cool, but my feeling back then was, why buy a 650 when you can have a 1400? Well, 22 years later, I've learned a few things and no longer judge a bike by the number of cubic centimeters but by its capabilities. Which brings us to this pair of motorcycles. No, they're not in the same class as far as power and price are concerned, but they both have very similar missions: to serve as comfortable touring bikes on pavement while also being extremely capable off it. So let's look at the tail of the tape. In the blue corner, we have a bike that has taken the adventure world by storm. Packing a 689cc parallel twin with a 270-degree crankshaft, producing 72 horsepower and 50 pound-feet of torque, and tipping the scales at 452 pounds, this bike has the lowest curb weight in the middleweight adventure class, sports 8 inches of suspension travel front and back, and 8 inches of ground clearance. Hailing from Japan, here is the Yamaha Tenere 700. And in the red corner, we have the lightweight contender. A newcomer to the adventure class, this motorcycle is powered by a single-cylinder 286cc engine, producing 27 horsepower and 20 pound-feet of torque. It possesses a class-leading 10 inches of suspension travel front and back, as well as 10 inches of ground clearance. Weighing in at a feather-like 337 pounds, this is the lightest adventure motorcycle on sale in Canada. Also hailing from the land of the rising sun, the Honda CRF300L Rally. So how do they compare? Let's go point by point. Engine. The Yamaha wins hands down. It has almost 3 times the horsepower and 2.5 times the torque and is quite the peppy road bike. The engine comes from the MT-07, so no wonder it's fun on the road. However, its power translates really well to off-road use because of its low-end grunt. It's hard to bog down this engine. The Honda's smaller engine is passable on pavement. The bike will do all you ask of it and will top out at 140 km per hour, so it will keep up with highway traffic. But it doesn't like those speeds and starts to gulp fuel quickly when pushed. It's also not going to give you a rush like the Yamaha, and passing a car on a 2-lane is more of a chore. Off-road, the engine is very well sorted, with lots of bottom-end torque and a good rush of power up top. The low first gear is great for crawling over difficult terrain and up very steep hills, or starting up again when you've stalled out. In terms of sound, there's no comparison. With its 270-degree crank, the Yamaha has the lumpy, soulful sound of a V-twin, while the Honda sounds like a small single. The Yamaha does have a bit of an abrupt throttle due to chain lash. Its steep swing arm causes the chain to loosen at times, then snap when the throttle is applied. Still, you can get used to this quirk and work around it. So the Yamaha wins in the engine department. The suspensions of these two bikes are quite different. On normal rough roads, both bikes eat up the bumps and give you a smooth ride. The Honda has 2 inches more travel and more ground clearance, but the Yamaha's suspension is much better sorted and is fully adjustable except for spring preload and the forks. You can dial in the correct compression and rebound damping on the Yamaha and adjust it to your heart's desire. I've heard riders complaining about the T7 springs being too soft, but at 180 pounds without gear, I haven't noticed this. I don't ride the bike at race speeds or jump it though. The Honda's basic suspension is adjustable for spring preload in the rear only, and without the Yamaha's remote adjuster knob, changing the preload on the Honda is a pain. How does all of this affect handling? The Honda feels bouncy, which is fine as long as the pace is normal. You wouldn't want to hit a set of whoops at full speed on either of these bikes, but the Yamaha would handle them better. The Honda is the easier and more capable bike to ride off-road, but that's not due to the suspension but rather its low weight. Weight is only a good thing on the highway or in strong crosswinds. Everywhere else it works against you, most specifically off-road. The Honda is 115 pounds lighter than the Yamaha and very much feels it. Despite being the lightest middleweight adventure bike on offer, the Yamaha is tall, carries its fuel up high, and feels top-heavy. The Honda is also tall but sags underneath the rider far more, making it seem lower. It is also so much lighter that in many situations you may be able to prevent it from falling over where you would drop the Yamaha. And if you do drop the Honda, it'll be much easier to lift. On pavement, the Yamaha's weight makes it track better in long flowing sweepers, but the Honda does better the tighter the corners get. On the highway, the Yamaha feels far more stable, but off-road, the Honda's much lighter weight makes it the better bike in most situations. The Yamaha is a great bike for flowy logging roads, dirt roads, and ATV trails, but as the trails get harder, as the sand and mud gets deeper, as the turns get tighter and the climbs and descents get steeper, the Honda proves to be the better off-road machine. It can be ridden with more confidence because it eats up bigger bumps with its longer suspension travel, and its better ground clearance gives you more confidence when going over obstacles. It's easier to toss around, and its stock tires are more aggressive and provide better traction in the loose stuff. The Yamaha can do most of the things the Honda can do off-road, but those things are much harder on the heavier, more powerful bike. Here's the same bit of single track ridden on both. The Honda pulls away immediately and keeps on going. It typically takes me 11 minutes to ride this bit of trail on the Honda and 13 to 14 on the Yamaha. If you want a massive workout, take your T7 on this kind of trail. Just make sure to let the dirt bikes and dual sports go first so you're not holding them back. Another point of comparison is the availability of accessories. Yamaha needs to be applauded here for making pages and pages of accessories available for the T7 as soon as it was out. Go to the Honda website for the CRF300s and the aftermarket is catching up now, but if you want certain accessories, you may have to wait. Bikers Bits and CRFs only have quite a few, and SRC Moto is working on it. Speaking of accessories, Yamaha has a factory accessory seat and lowering link, making the Tenere accessible to shorter riders. Honda? Kuba makes a link, but quite frankly, Honda again dropped the ball here. This is a tall bike and a lot of customers may want to lower it like we did, so the lack of factory options is disappointing. Other bike owning considerations? The Honda is light enough to put on the back of our RV, the Yamaha is not. Wind and weather protection, the Yamaha is slightly better here but not by much. I've ridden the Honda through a downpour and it was better than I expected. Seats, the Honda's seat wins hands down. It's wide, thick, and cushy while the Yamaha's is a plank. Even with the Honda's seat shaved down, numb bump sets in earlier on the Yamaha. The Yamaha wins in the braking department. It has dual discs while the Honda has one, and the Yam's brakes provide a better bite. The Honda's forks also dive more under braking. Both bikes have ABS with one button disabling ABS front and back on the Yam, while the Honda's allows the rider to turn off ABS on the back wheel only. I prefer the Yamaha system in almost every situation. It should go without saying that the Yamaha is a better 2-up bike. Brooke and I ride the Honda 2-up on our RV vacations and it does the job, but not nearly as well as the Yam. Together we weigh 300 pounds. Add all of our riding gear and other stuff we're bringing and the Honda's soft suspension starts to hit its limits. That's never an issue on the Yamaha, and as I mentioned before, the Yam's preload knob makes suspension adjustment much more of a breeze. In terms of looks, both bikes have that rally profile and look absolutely badass. For For my taste, the Yamaha's better looking headlight nudges it ahead of the Honda. However, for an inexpensive motorcycle, the CRF is well made and exudes that Honda quality, so no complaints here with either one. In the fuel efficiency department, the Honda will go further at lower speeds while the Yamaha will get further on the highway. The Yamaha's 689cc engine is working less hard at higher speeds and therefore is more efficient. 300 kilometers is the upper limit for both machines, although the Honda can go further if you keep the speeds under 80 kilometers per hour. And finally, the price. This will vary according to what country you're in, but the Yamaha is significantly more expensive everywhere. In Canada, the Honda MSRP is $7,500 Canadian dollars, while the Yamaha goes for $12,400. The Yamaha is definitely more bike and has a better engine and more sophisticated suspension. The question is it worth $4,900 extra? And the answer depends on the rider. The more riding you do on fast paved roads, the more you will lean towards the Yamaha. It's just more motorcycle and feels far more substantial. It can do most of the off-road stuff that the Honda can, although it requires more skill and effort to do it, and it performs far better on pavement. The more time you spend off-road or the smaller you are, the more sense the Honda makes. It will do anything you need it to do on pavement. We've ridden it 2-up on a very hilly road at 100 km per hour and it was fine, though it needed some downshifts to fifth to get up the steeper hills. It's also the superior bike off pavement, allowing the rider to plow through the rough stuff with more confidence. So what's your preference and why? Or is there something better than either of these? Both are very good motorcycles, and if I could only have one, I'd choose the Yamaha. And Brooke would choose the Honda. Each bike fits our particular style, so we'll call this one a draw. Two simple, honest motorcycles that just get on with it and do their thing. Not too many bells and whistles, just capable, reliable, and well-built bikes. Whichever you choose, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching and ride safe. If you're interested in any of the gear that Brooke and I wear or use, or the camera equipment we use to film this channel, the links are below. Everything listed there was bought with our own money and we are not sponsored by any company. However, the links below are affiliate links and the channel is paid a small amount for referring you to shop at no additional cost to you. We do not recommend any products that we are not satisfied with ourselves, but we do strongly urge you to do your research and select the correct size for items like helmets and clothing. As always, thanks for watching, your support is greatly appreciated. Please hit that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. And whatever you ride, enjoy it. Wave at other bikers no matter what they're riding. We're all part of a brotherhood and sisterhood. Keep the rubber side down, shiny side up, and may the spokes be with you.